Hey everybody, thanks for joining me again today. So I recently got a message from a subscriber that said, I'm overheating. Can you help me? I don't know what to do. Well, my first thought is, oh crap, if you're going down the road, just regular driving, flat level ground, overheating, that's a bad thing. You got some major problems. But come to find out after some back and forth, it's in the dead of summer, 110 degree heat. This was 4 or 5 months ago or so. He sent me this. And he's in Arizona pulling I-17 from Phoenix up to Flagstaff, which is, if you've done that before, you know that's a long, hard pull. So I said, don't feel special. A lot of people are going to overheat on that hill. It just prompted me to think and do a video about overheating in general and what you can do about it, how to keep from overheating, and just some general thoughts on that. So the first thing would be, and now we're kind of talking about what we just described here, pulling hills and stuff like that. If you're overheating just going down the road, you have some bigger problems. But this video is just basically about summertime, pulling hills, things like that. Now your engine overheats because it can't dissipate the heat that it is generating, which it would do through your radiator, your oil cooler. It's producing more heat than its ability to dissipate it. So what you need to do is help it out a little bit. The biggest thing to do when this is happening to you is slow down. Okay, just because you can pull a mountain at 70 miles an hour doesn't necessarily mean you should. Or if you're pushing the limits of your truck and it's about to overheat, slow down. More horsepower and more speed demand more fuel, which makes more heat, which is just more heat that your vehicle cannot dissipate. All right, so slowing down might be the biggest thing you can do for yourself. The second thing is turn off the cruise control. If you're running around with the cruise control on, every time you come to a hill, that ECM is going to put 100% throttle to the engine to try to make it up that hill. So this isn't what we want when pulling a long, steep hill in the heat. We want to manage that throttle demand by ourselves. So we're not trying to make the vehicle go 70 miles an hour up the hill. We're working with it to try to keep that temperature down. A couple things here that would be helpful before you even get into this situation, and just good maintenance practices, are number one, keep the radiator clean, and keep checking it for big damaged fins and bent over fins. It can't do its job if it can't pull air through that radiator. If it's jam-packed with bugs and dirt, it can't pull air through, it can't dissipate heat. Okay, I have a video on that, if it's summertime maintenance tips for your truck to help it keep it running cool. And it also applies to your air conditioning. Keep that condenser clean, your air conditioning will work a little better. I gotta show a tool for that you can use. It makes it much easier to keep your radiator clean. So I'll put a link for it in the description below this video for that. And along with that, two other things. Number one, keep a good clean air filter so that the engine can draw all the air that it needs through that charge air cooler to bring plenty of air into the engine so that it can make power more efficiently. If it has the amount of air it needs, it won't take necessarily quite as much fuel to compensate. It can have the proper blend of both and make power more efficiently. And also, to go along with that, this is especially true if you have an older pre-emissions truck. You want to make sure that that thing can breathe in efficiently with a clean air filter and also get rid of that exhaust efficiently. And what I mean by that is your muffler. If you have a truck that's 900,000 or 1,000,000 miles, older truck, check that muffler. They get clogged up with soot, and it makes it so it's hard to dissipate that hot exhaust air. Just a quick story, I had a truck one time with the under cab 2-into-1 muffler. It would come one pipe off the turbo and then into the muffler and then split, and the exhaust would go up the sides of the cab. Well, it got pretty rusted out from being under the cab, so I decided it was time to change it. When I pulled that sucker off, that thing had to weigh 75 pounds. It was that clogged up with soot. The new one, in comparison, I mean, I could lift that new one up there, put it in place with one hand, but that doggone thing almost fell on me. It was so clogged up with soot. And if it's that clogged up with soot, it's going to have a hard time getting rid of that hot exhaust air. So let your engine breathe and make power efficiently. The next thing I would say to do is turn off your air conditioning. Now this is going to suck because I know it's hot outside, but that air conditioning compressor draws horsepower away from the motor and takes away its efficiency, and you need that horsepower when you're pulling that hill. Also, what you can do is turn the heat on. This is going to be pretty uncomfortable and you're going to be kind of miserable, but it can make a difference because that it's going to make the coolant circulate through your heater core, which is basically another heat exchanger, and can dissipate heat. It's not a major help, but every little bit can help, okay? And it's going to be hot and it's going to suck and you're going to sweat and be uncomfortable. Roll down the window. You'll get over that hill in 10 minutes hopefully, and you can turn that air back on and make it over without overheating. Overheating is serious. It's probably the fastest way you can melt down your engine and do significant damage. You don't want that. If it's a little bit of time of uncomfortable, turning the air conditioning off to save your engine, you got to do it. The next thing is probably going to go a little bit against what you were taught driving the truck in the first place, okay? They teach you an orientation, or the companies or whatever, for your downshift to your next gear. Let it run, especially with the newer trucks, let it run down to 11 or 1200 RPMs, whatever the case is going to be. Different motors, different trucks are going to be different, okay? Especially the newer ones. But in this case, when you're trying to avoid overheating, you got to remember this. Your water pump and your cooling fan, your engine fan, are driven by the engine. And if you're talking about in a car or a lighter duty truck or different kinds of vehicles, some of them can have an electric cooling fan, okay? But we're just talking about most of your Class 8 trucks are all going to have an engine driven cooling fan. Now, when you drop RPMs, that's going to slow your water pump down. It's going to slow your engine fan down. So by keeping your RPMs higher, and I don't mean redlining the thing, instead of trying to pull the hill, they'll, in orientation, they'll tell you, let that thing pull down to 1200 RPMs and let it stay there until it's time to downshift. Well, no. In this kind of heat, I would personally say, try to keep it around between 14 and 1600 RPMs. You need those RPMs to keep that water pump spinning fast, circulate the coolant, dissipate the heat, and also to keep your engine fan running faster. Okay? And special circumstance here, otherwise follow their directions and shift it the way they say to do it. If you've done all these things and you're still going to overheat, okay, you're pulling the hill, all of a sudden your warning light, your check engine light comes on, your buzzer starts going off, you need to get off the road immediately. Pull over to the shoulder, but do not shut the vehicle off. You need to let that vehicle run to continue to circulate the water, let the fan run to dissipate the heat. If you're in an overheated state and you shut that engine off, you're probably going to do some damage, at least at minimum, to maybe some bearings, especially your turbo bearings. Okay, so and it may even be helpful to bump the idle up a little bit to get things cooling down a little faster. Don't be afraid. Don't just get it down to where it turns the alarm off and makes your check engine light go away and just go trucking again. Sit there for a little bit. Let things cool down. Because I'll tell you what, your transmission is going to be hot too from that hard pull, okay? So let everything get back down to normal operating temperature before you decide to go again. Plus, starting from a dead stop on the side of the hill, it's going to be harder to get up to speed again. So it's going to be harder yet on your truck, and you don't want to overheat again right away. So give it a little bit of time. If you find yourself overheating often or regularly, maybe on hills you really shouldn't be overheating, then it's time to get your truck into a shop and have a mechanic take a look at it. Make sure everything's in proper working order. Overheating can be a multitude of different problems, so get somebody to take a look at it. Because like I said, overheating, it might be the quickest way to damage your engine. So if you like these kind of things, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, share with a friend, and we'll see you next time.